Hi, how you doing? Good. Oh, Jesus. Forgot the mic. How's everyone doing? Thank you for joining me on another live stream where we continue to work on the learning management system for using Livewire, Laravel, and Filament. Thank you for joining me again. And as you can see, we already have Hamad in the chat. Thank you for joining me. And behind that, as always, I am going to go back and forth to the chat. So don't hesitate to leave your messages there. I will be checking them out during the stream at some point. Not the whole time, but at some point. So I'll make sure to check on your comments from time to time. Thank you for the love. Thank you for all the hearts. Thank you for being here. And let's take a look at the agenda for today. We have, I want to take a few minutes on this live stream, and maybe I'll make it a habit. I don't know if you guys, if it's okay with you, I'll make it a habit, but sometimes I have comments or questions that are in my YouTube comments that I respond during the week, but sometimes those questions do merit like being answered maybe live, because there might be an answer for someone else in there that doesn't necessarily check the comment section. So I'm going to take a few minutes. I'm going to take a few minutes to answer some of those comments or questions from your comments, and then we'll go on to the rest of the agenda, which we are going to make some changes or improve the course list that we finished last week. We are going to make it look good, and we are going to make it look more like what I want to see based on the example that I'm following, which is code course. Jefferson Gonzalez, hello, thank you for being here. So yeah, we're going to do that first. Then I want on that note, I also want to add course tags, because again, based on the inspiration that I've been following, which is codecourse.com, they do have these tags or these categories for all of the courses. If the course has to do with Livewire, Filament, Laravel, etc., they do show those as tags in their course description. So I want to add those to our courses today. And finally, because I think we didn't do it last week, I would like to also open up the course details page to guests, because someone should be able to see all of the course description, tagline, and all of the episodes or episode titles before committing to watch the course, and therefore joining the page or paying a subscription, etc. So I don't think that's still available for guests, so we're going to do that. Okay, so let's start with your questions and your comments. Let me see if I can find that window. Right here. Let me make it a little bit bigger though. Zoom in. Yeah, that's better, I think. So starting with Federico Castañeda Ortiz. By the way, Federico, thank you so much for your other comments and your kind words. I already saw them and replied to them, so appreciate you so much. Thank you for the kind words, and thank you for supporting my channel. But this question is interesting, and let me also bring in the chat so that I can also see your comments on this. Let's move it over here. So Federico asks, hi, how are you? Can I use Filament in Laravel 11? I get an error when I try to install it and he's using PHP 8.3 and Laragon. So short answer is yes. Livewire, you can use Filament version 3 with Filament. Sorry, Yeah, Filament version 3 with Laravel 11, the latest version. You can totally use it. Also, Livewire, you can use it with Laravel 11. I believe you are encouraged to make sure that your both Filament and Livewire are in the latest version, so that there are no conflicts. But yes, you can totally use Laravel 11 with Filament. I believe Laragon, that's for Windows. It's like Herd, but for Windows. By the way, Herd is coming for Windows, so stay tuned and pay attention to that, because for at least for the Mac side, it's been like fantastic. Herd, totally recommended. So if you're having an issue, maybe you can share that in more detail, what kind of an issue you're having. But I'm guessing it has more to do with Laragon itself, or maybe a missing dependency there. But I don't think, at least on a surface level, that, oh, Federico, you're here. Hi. I saw that by updating the Livewire version. Oh, okay. That's good to know. Good to know. So it wasn't so much Laragon or Filament, it was just the Livewire version. So yeah, as I was saying, make sure that you are always in the latest version when it comes to Laravel 11, Filament, and also Livewire, which is what Filament is on top of. So yeah, thank you for the comment, and I'm glad you solved it. So right away. Next question comes from, I lost the window. Next question comes from Athul Suresh. I hope I'm saying that right. And he says, hi, is it possible to use or at least create a PWA in Filament? So PWA, and please correct me if I'm wrong, stands for Progressive Web Application. And that's when a web application can be distributed as an application installed on mobile devices. I say mobile devices, but I guess it's not limited to mobile devices. So in short, yes, I think it's possible. And I've read online that it is possible, and people are trying to create, or at least creating, a PWS. I don't know about Filament specifically, but I know that Livewire, people are using that to create PWAs. But unfortunately, I don't know how. So I don't feel competent enough to give you any more details other than, yes, I think it's possible. Thank you so much for your question, Athul. And finally, this comment comes from Lilesh Yadav. Sorry if I'm saying it wrong, but anyone doing this, make sure you have a strong validation, because it's plain Livewire, and don't use it in client-facing sites, because it exposes a lot of your code data in the browser. And he's referring to this Filament tables with Livewire components video, where I created a small example application for medication reminders. Now, there are two things that one thing that I agree with, but two things that I don't really agree with on this comment. And let me bring in your chat again. Hi, ReadX Gaming. Do you have any idea about storing files privately, like local disk in Laravel 11? I don't, unfortunately. Again, I'm not very well versed on local storing, because of the majority of my work is done always on the server. I don't do anything like too extensively on the client, so I wouldn't know, I couldn't give you a proper response. I know it's possible, but I couldn't tell you how, unfortunately. So back to Lailesh. I do agree that you always have to have strong validation on any application that you build. Fortunately, Filament and Liveware itself have tools and methods that facilitate you adding strong validation to your forms. It still relies on you. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to, but at least you have tools and helpers that will aid you in adding strong validation to your forms and your application. So yeah, I agree that strong validation is always a must, but I don't know about not using Livewire on client-side phases, because I do agree. I do think that that's what it's made for, not specifically for that, but it is very useful in those cases. And I'm not sure what do you mean by it exposes a lot of your code in your browser, because Livewire, as far as I know, the one thing that does expose is snapshots, and those are just serialized. That is just serialized information that Livewire is using to communicate information between the client and the server. And that is necessary for the reactivity of the PHP code on the server and making it look like it's something akin of Vue.js. But as far as code goes, that's still server side. I'm not aware of any code that gets overly exposed in a Livewire application, other than the snapshots of information going back and forth between the client and the server. And that is just plain, at the end of the day, that's just plain JavaScript. So I don't agree that you don't use it on the client side. You can totally use it on the client side, but the caveat here is that you have to make sure, as a developer, you have to make sure that you don't expose sensitive information on your application, be it by putting it, transmitting that information plainly in post requests, or any other kind of like putting it in debug logs, etc. That's still on your side, and that is still the responsibility of the developer. So you can still use Livewire. You can still use Filament on client-side websites if you feel like it, because I do believe that they are very good tools. But you still have to know and make sure that you protect sensitive information from being exposed on your client side or your code. So that's still on the developer. And no matter how good of a tool you have, if you don't use it right, it can still be harmful. So that's my opinion. And still, thank you so much for the comment, Lailesh. And I would like to know more about your opinion on what kind of information do you think it is being exposed, or what has been your experience on using Livewire on client-side applications. So let me know more. And you as well, if you have any comments, please leave them in any of the videos, or this one, or any of the content, and I might be answering them on live streams like this or the Saturdays. Going back to the chat a bit, are you going to use Laravel Reverb in this project? No, I won't. But I am working on a separate video to use Laravel Reverb. So I'm working on that. I'm having a bit of a problem right now, but because it's a new thing, and I still need to learn how to use it in order to actually show it off. But yeah, there is a video in the works for Laravel Reverb, so stay tuned for that. If you're not subscribed yet, so make sure to do that. And also, I think you didn't get my question. I'm referring to store files like images in private, not in public directories of Laravel, so that the files are not exposed to the public. Oh, okay. Well, I believe by default, and I'm sorry if I hope this answers your question, but I believe by default, at least when you're using, for example, the Livewire component for uploading files, or even the file system configuration itself, by default, that puts files in the storage folder, not in the public folder. So if you want to make those files, if you want to expose those publicly, there is a PHP artisan command for that that will create a symlink between your public folder and your storage folder. But if you don't do that, I believe those files, any file that you upload and you don't purposely expose, is private by default. I believe. I think that's the case. What do you think about creating a video using custom pages in Filament, like full interactive custom page, like a full interactive custom page in Filament? I think that's an interesting idea. There is a project at work right now that I do have to, or at least I will have to create a fully custom Livewire component because nothing in Filament has the functionality that I need. So I would have to create a custom page completely in Livewire, and then bring that over to Filament because the rest of the panel is in Filament. So I do think that any of the videos that I've made so far that create Livewire pages and use Filament, well, yeah, you're right. I haven't done the opposite, like creating a Filament panel and adding a custom page. So yeah, it is a good idea for a video, definitely. Laravel reverb not working for me. Is it in HTTPS? Yeah, I think I having the same problem. I tried to start an example project the other day, and I couldn't for the life of me get it to connect over HTTPS. I didn't get to public channels because it took me a long time to debug, and I couldn't actually solve the problem, so I didn't make any progress. But yeah, I think I having the same problem as you. Over HTTPS, it just wouldn't connect. So yeah, I'm still working on that. I'm still researching, and as soon as I solve that problem, yeah, I'm working on a video for that. Okay, I think that's enough for the comments and for me talking incessantly. So yeah, let's get started with what we are here for. Let me just double check the agenda, make sure that we check this, and then let's work on polish our course. Zoom in code, and let me get out of the way, by the way. So it's there you go. That's better. A little more. Good. Okay, so yeah, last time, and let me just make sure that Vite development server is running. Is there one running? Let's put it here. Bun run dev. Okay. And if we go to the browser, so this is how things are looking for now. And I think you got a glimpse of what I was working on to show you today. Sorry about that. So little spoiler alert. So yeah, this is how it's looking. It's in a grid, and all of the records show up as a small card. But I do want, and I think this is too small, maybe. Really? There. Okay. The inspiration for this project, as I've mentioned before, is code course. and I want something like that. So I want the cards on my table to look similar to this overall design. It's not going to be completely the same, but at least we emulate something similar. For example, I already have the course title there, but let's change the font. Let's make it bolder. Let's add there. I think they're using the description, but I'm going to use the tagline instead. We already have this information available, so let's add that as well with the icons, and then have an action on the record so that we can go and watch the course description. I might also add something like a hero section, just to make it look good, and make some changes to the navigation as well, so that it doesn't say dashboard. Maybe just change that to courses. All right. As always, if you are commenting, I will check on the comments. I will check on the chat from time to time. I don't want to be excessively looking at the chat because I don't want to get distracted too much. But yeah, just if you have a comment, just leave it there and I'll get to it in time. Okay, so we're just displaying the table as of now. So to make changes, we have to go to, let me close this, the course list. So here we just have a grid with 2 and 3, and I right away, how many records are they showing? So they're showing 3 cards on large devices and 2 on medium, and small is just 1. Okay, so yeah, pretty much the same. 3 on large, 2 on medium. That's not going to change. Let's work on the columns. So we have the title, but let's make some modifications. First of all, is it too small or too big? No, I think it's the right size, but let's make it bolder. So weight. Here you can either use the class-based enum, but I personally like to use, I think you can use most of the Tailwind CSS classes like font bold. And that'll do the trick. I think it's too dark. So let's make it maybe gray. Gray or gray? Yeah, that's a lot easier to read. Not too much contrast. What else? There isn't too much flexibility though. Like I noticed that this is a bit darker, and I believe they are using a different shade of gray, but I don't have the ability to change too much of the color, at least when working with columns. So this is as far as we can go, but that's fine. Let's add more information, starting with the tagline maybe. So add one more column here. Labels, columns, text column, tagline. Okay. This is too big. As you can see, the text is slightly smaller than the title. So let's change the size. Let's try text SM. XS. That's better. Let's make it gray as well. Okay, I like that. It's too close together though. I would like more space between the title and the tagline. See that there is a lot more space in between these two. So like that much. And when in my case, yeah, that's way too close together. Let's see what we can do. What was the method? I believe there is a method because by default, I know that there is no, when we're dealing with, in this case, we're using a stack. So a stack will take the content and just stack the content or the columns one on top of the other. But by default, there is no space between columns. And I think there is a method. Let me see if I can just guess it. There it is, space. Should be 1 by default. Yeah, it's 1 by default. Let's try 2. Looks better, but I think it's still a little too close. Like when I look at the other, it's kind of a, let's try 3 instead. Yeah, I think that's better. Let me just do a scientific measurement. Something like that. Yeah, that works. Kind of the same. Like it's not it's not exactly scientific or exact, but I kind of like it. It kind of looks the same. Okay. Let me go and check on the chat for a bit. No. You guys are quiet. Hamad is laughing at me because of my measurement. Yeah, this much. That should be scientific enough. Okay, so what else? What else do we need? Based on the example, let's add the episode count and the length of the course. We already have that information on the page on the course details, but let's add it here too. Just by looking at this, I'm gonna need those two columns next to each other. So I need to add something else because if I keep it on a stack, it's gonna go one on top of each other. So I believe what we can use in this case is right below this tagline. Let's use tables, columns, layout. I believe it's split is what I want to use. So that the split, I believe, is going to make use of a flex container. So putting things next to each other. And here, let's add, what is it? The episodes, right? There is a problem though. If we go to show course, is it? In this show course, when displaying the formatted length, created ad, where is it? Title, tagline, instructor. Oh, here, episodes count. The way that I'm doing this, it's because I already have a single record course available. When I mount the component, I do load count, which is a Laravel method that will create an attribute on my model called episodes, which is the relationship name, and then count. And that'll give me how many episodes in that, how many episodes do I have in that relationship. But since I'm dealing with a table here, I think I'm going to have to make a slight adjustment. I don't think I can, for each record, load a count unless I'm missing something. You guys know any Laravel method that will load a count or do pretty much that same aggregation for each record on the collection? Or if not, I can just reference the collection or the relationship, which is a collection, and just use count. Problem with that is that I have to make sure scopes. That's a good idea. Let me see. Laravel.com. Documentation. Scopes. Query scopes. I probably do something like this if I were to use scopes. So something like this. I don't want to create a whole new class for it. But I noticed your hidden label almost of your text entry. I think you can configure it in the panel provider. Oh, you mean I am using hidden label on all of my entries? Yeah. I can probably make that a default, and I probably will at some point. But yeah, thank you. So here, I'm thinking that, can I actually do builder load count in this scenario by a global scope? Is that possible? We won't know until we try, right? Scope to count post by specific category. Scope count by category. Return query where category count. So you're using the count method, the thing that I would probably use directly in the state, but you are using it as a scope. I'm not going to query by category. I just need to load the count. So the where here, the where query, I think would be, and I'm realizing people are not seeing the comments, but let me show. So what you're saying is add a query to the builder and then count that. But I already have it in a relationship. So the relationship will give me the episodes. I just need to count them. And so first, let me show you what my gut would tell me to do first. Protected with count. Oh, really? Well, if that works, that's perfect. Let's go to the course model. I'm sorry. I whistle sometimes. Protected with count. Oh, jeez. And I'm guessing you need to put in that array the name of the relationship that I want to count. So episodes. Am I right? Let me close this window, by the way. So that looks right. So if that's the case and I save this, should be able to have tables, columns, text column, make episodes count, just like this one. All right, let's take a look. Saved already. And let's go back here. I'm going to zoom on this one too. Not so much. Khaled, you are a genius, my friend. Thank you so much. Is it Khalid or Khaled? That's awesome. Great. It was way easier than I was making it to be. But we need an icon. And I want to add the word episodes at the end. So let's do a little bit of state management. So let's do format state using. And I believe I can get away with state. And let's use state episodes. Do I want to pluralize the word episodes? I probably do. So let's not do that. Instead, let's do state and then concatenate a space and then there is a string class. Is it string or text? Can't remember. str. str plural, and then the word and the count. Let's see how that looks. All right, good. So that in that case, if it's just one episode, it's going to read one episode, but if it's two or more, then it's going to pluralize it perfectly. Yeah, I know, right? Laravel is awesome. Even years after using it, they just keep coming up with awesome stuff. Or you keep forgetting that they have awesome stuff, and then you make things way more complicated than they should be, and some genius on the internet just gives you the answers. Thank you, Khaled. So this looks fine, but it's too big. So let's make it small and gray. How much smaller? Way smaller than the tagline. So the tagline was already XS. Is it an XXS by any chance? No, XS is the smallest. Well, let's do it XS. You don't have to get too much into the nitty-gritty. So format state using, size. Maybe Filament has a smaller font. Let me check. Size. Really? Oh, I saw it. I saw it. No, that's the font weight. Well, they have extra small, but I doubt that's going to be smaller than XS. So let's see. Let's use this one first. Make it gray as well. And now let's compare it with this one. Text column size, extra small. I think that actually is larger. No, they're exactly the same. Okay, I prefer to use the shorter version then. Can I use specific sizes? Probably not. What's the smallest one? 75 rem, 12 pixels. Let's try 0.5. Will that work? I'm guessing not. Well, it did work, although that's way too small. 0.6. I think that's good. I would make it bold though. Weight, font, bold. Way too bold. Okay, not bold. That's fine. That looks good. Let's add an icon then. Well, hold on. Let me just add the other information, which is the length, formatted length. Let's see. Tables, columns, text column, make formatted length. Just like we're doing here. If you don't remember what this is, in the course, I have an attribute called formatted length, camel case, where I said I return an attribute casting where I pretty much do an aggregation first, loading the sum of the length in minutes of the episode from the episode's relation. I wonder if I could get away with the, is there a protected, Khaled, maybe you know this better than me. Do you think there is a protected with sum as well? And that will give me the episodes sum and then the name of the attribute in the episode that I'm making a sum with. Well, let's go and check the documentation. There should be something in there. So we know there is a with sum. Other aggregate functions, yeah, but that's the function itself. I guess one good idea would be to, I mean, if there is a protected that comes from model, right? There's a with count. Is there with sum? Nope. That's too good to be true. Anyway, like I was saying, in the model, I just have an attribute that pretty much does the aggregation of the length of the episodes and formats it to human readable format, I guess. So I can just use that attribute that is in camel case, use that as an attribute of the model with snake case. And that'll give me this. Again, let's format that the same way with same size, same color. All right. Scopes as well. Yeah. Well, I like attributes more than scopes, to be honest, at least in this scenario. But I'm guessing you can get away with scopes too. Okay, so now we have the information that I want. Let's create icons for this. Now, unfortunately, as far as I know, you can't have icons for columns, or you can't have icons in text columns. Not in the same way that you can have icons for text entries in info lists, which is very easy to do. There is no implementation to have an icon for a text column. So what we can do instead, we can use an icon column instead. And that looks like this. Actually, they're right here. Icon column. And you can change the state of those columns based on the value of the column itself. But all I want to do right now is just show an icon. So let's use icon column. So we need one before the episode count. Now, as far as I know, and let me try this out first. As far as I know, the only limitation is that you need to use a column name that exists on your model. Because if I try to do one like, this is the episode count, maybe video icon, something like this, it's just not going to show up. And I need this to be icon. And I believe the icon is hero icon film. If I save that and go back, yeah, you see nothing shows up. So I have to use a column that is actually present in my model. So let's just use episodes count. There it is. Kind of ugly. And that's probably because, why is it so big and ugly? Change the size, please. Just use size. And I think you can use class names here too. Yeah, you can use a string. Can I use size 3 or 4? No, doesn't like that. Let's then use width 3, height 30. Okay. Why is it so bold? I don't like it so bold. No, this is using hero icon. So maybe it's just the set of icon that I'm using. This is outline though. Should be not as big. How does it look in the course, by the way? Courses 1. Nope. Come on, Safari. There is this thing that Safari does that if you don't add a slash at the end, he thinks that I'm trying to do a search for Google. Oh, this is another thing. It's still not, well, at least now it's confirmed that this section is not for guests. Please remember me. Yeah, I think it's... that's probably because I'm way too zoomed in. Maybe, maybe not. Just 1 second. Looking for the film. I guess that's how it looks. There is a solid one, which is not to my liking. There is the mini one. Can I use the mini one? I'm guessing that's M instead of O, but it's still... oh, there's a micro even. Micro I like. Can I use the micro without having to change the size? What's micro? I don't know what to... O stands for outline. Sol S stands for solid. Can I use M for, I don't know, micro, mini? I don't know. Let's not have a size then. Doesn't make a difference. Well, not here because this is not the page. Jesus Christ. Nope, still nothing. I have to use micro? Nope. Ooh, that actually breaks it. Let's stay with the how it was and just change the size like this. That's good enough. Actually, it could be a little bigger. 4. Now, there is an issue. There is the issue with this whole space being left in between the icon, because this is since this is a flex container, it's treating it, the icon is treating it as a column, but he's going to evenly divide the space between columns. One thing that we can do is tell this column not to grow any space for itself. So we can just say grow false, and that'll fix it. Good. Yeah, that looks good enough for me. That text though, it's too small. Better. Now we need the other, which is a clock. So let's copy this icon column. Let's put it here, just before the formatted length. Let's actually use the formatted length column. And the icon name is hero icon o'clock. I like it. It's starting to look like something. Aha. I'd prefer adding this as a column when episode updated. I'll update the column. Okay. Try adding the icon with in format state using. How would I do that though? I would have to render some HTML if I wanted to do that. And that would be way too, I think it'll make it too hard to read, I guess. It's an option though. But so far, I like how it's looking. The icon is next to the information. It looks kind of the same, at least samey. So yeah, I'm happy so far. As always, another option would be if you wanted to really have ownership of how that card looks like, you could go the route of creating a custom column and having a view or even a livewire component exclusively for the look and feel of the card. That's another option if you wanted to really fine tune the design and the look and feel of each card. But for now, this looks fine. That's what we are doing, by the way, on the used cars project that we work on Saturdays. If you want to check that out and how I'm doing that. I think the last thing would be the and that actually will be the last thing. I can't believe how long we've gone on just this. Let's add an action that will allow us to just go from here to the actual course. Thankfully, Livewire or Filament allows to just in the table here. After columns, we can just say actions. And this will take an array. And here we can say tables, actions, action, make. What do we call this? Start watching. And since we want this to be a link to the course, we can just say URL, I believe, yes. This takes a closure or a route. But since I need to pass the ID, it's going to be a closure. So fn, we can inject the course here as record. You don't have to use the variable name record. That's just how I'm used to do it. You can use course if you want, if that's more your preference. But I usually go with record. So that's because in my mind, that's the record that the current row is using. That's just all, that's the association that I do. So then I can do, and this, by the way, specs a string. And here I can do route. And I believe the route is courses show as the route name. And this expects a parameter called course. And we can just pass the record itself, and Laravel will take care of the rest. Let's see how that looks as is. I want a button though. This works, but I want a button. So I think there is just a, yep, button. Perfect. Do I have an icon? I do. Nice. So let's do, what was it? The one for play? Calendar. Circle play. Play circle. Nice. Can I change the position of the icon? Yes, I can. What do I use? Well, let's use it. Let's use the icon position. so I don't have to think about it. Icon position, that's an enum, and after. I like it. So it's starting to look a lot more like this. Now, I do have limitations. I do know that I can't make that button to be the entire width of the card, but for example, and I can't center it either. So there are limitations in the way that I'm doing this, but so far, it doesn't have to be the same, doesn't have to look the same, but it has to look good. In my opinion, it looks way better than it was before. Right? What do you think? Yeah, it's good now. I agree. Try adding the icon in format state. I already read that. Okay, so unfortunately, this took way too long. This is my favorite part in any project, by the way. When I do a change and I see the change and I see the things taking form, it's my favorite. And I could go on, like 2 hours on, just nitpicking, moving, making things larger, smaller, changing colors, etc. So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I think it's looking good enough for now. So we managed to do one thing and one thing only. So let's save the rest for next week, which it's going to be. We're going to go through this too. Probably the categories is the one that is going to take the most time, but the rest are pretty easy to do. So yeah, let's actually very simple, very good actually, and very simple. Yeah, I agree. That's the good thing about Filament. You can move faster and do things at a very good speed. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for showing up. If you like this episode, don't forget to, you know what, leave a like, subscribe to the channel to not miss the next one, and again, I'll see you in the next one.